going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the BetaBreak. Today, we're very happy to be joined by TJ Marks. What's going on, TJ? Thanks for being here.
Happy to be here.
TJ is just coming off a super rad finals performance in Metro Rock Bushwick, one of the installments of DarkHorse this year. So we're going to get into how that day went for him and everything else that has to do with TJ. We're obviously always joined by Basim, who is there to live stream the event, and we're always happy to have you as well, Basim.
Well, thank you for having me.
Cool, man. So TJ, for the folks at home, would you mind just giving us a quick rundown where you're from, how old you are, how long you've been climbing, all the usual intro stuff?
Yeah. So hi, I'm TJ. So I'm 20 now. I go to school at Northeastern, but I'm originally from Jersey. Oh, Northeastern's in Boston, by the way. I figured, half the time in Chicago, Northwestern.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I've been climbing for 16 years now, so the majority of my life. But I didn't get into the competition scene until I was about 12 when I joined High Exposure. So I was on team with the Crushers, Adam, Austin, just a few names. That's Adam Shahar and Boston White, by the way.
Never heard of it.
Then I started to transition away from High Exposure during COVID time and joined Goat's team, which I was one of the original team members. I was definitely the oldest member by a lot, but Chris Moyle, my head coach at the time, did a really great job at coaching me, but then keeping all of the younger kids, and we had a really nice community that was cool for a few years. And then I went off to college, started training at Northeastern. After my freshman year, I was like, oh wait, I want to get really good. Started training super hard and started competing in the open finals and met you guys, and yeah.
And for those of you are wondering if you want to see TJ performing before Bushwick, you made finals at the last Feats of Strength, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that was kind of personally, that feels like that was my breakout performance. First time I really delivered.
So that was an excellent performance. So that's when I got introduced to TJ, and I know I've seen you a couple times in qualifying rounds, but it was feats, and then we haven't really seen you in the finals until Bushwick.
There was Gowanus last year.
Sorry?
There was Gowanus finals.
Oh, that's right, Gowanus finals.
When was that? May? Making that up. Something like that.
Yeah, I just got home. Home from college.
Yeah, and you had, I said, at school. I know you made a couple finals in other events that we didn't cover. I know there was a gravity vault event that you were on the podium for as well. So TJ's making his rounds. So we're going to be seeing a whole lot more TJ in the finals if he decides he wants to continue his climbing career. Super strong pressure.
I think he might stick with it.
Thank you. Yeah, just a few years in.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that was the Flemington Fight Club.
Yes, the Fight Club. We wanted to cover that. I reached out to them. Gravity Vault is one of the franchises that we haven't covered anything for. They don't like to return my calls. I don't know. But
I'll get on it.
Eventually, I'm going to have to return their calls, right? That's what it's going to be.
And one other quick reference is we were talking about High Exposure, which is a gym in Jersey that a lot of strong people have come out of. I'm assuming you were coached by Charlie Schreiber at the time, who has made a pretty big name for himself. And then now are you still, when you're not in school, are you still training out of Goat?
When I'm home,
primarily,
I kind of just train around wherever. But I do have a really good connection with Goat through both the Hackers. Shout out the Hackers, and then Chris Moyle. So I'll often come home and I'll forerun or chat with the team and have a good time, and then also get my training in. So. Yeah.
Awesome. And people might recognize Goat from the NACS comp this past fall, where Chris Sharma was in lead finals, which is still super awesome.
I was at semifinals round with him there, and warming up, I was just like, "Yo, Chris, can I get on that wall?" And it was just such a weird moment of reflection of I've been watching him since I was literally in kindergarten. but there he is. And
Yeah,
he was
there he
chill.
is, and just hanging out. It's weird when the people like that, when you get around them and they're just people. And you're like, why aren't you floating off the ground? It's super weird.
Exactly.
Well, he is floating off the ground. He's so strong.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
True.
Well, cool, man. So it sounds like most of your main motivations in climbing at the moment are pretty competition focused. Obviously, you and I have talked a lot about how much you're training. I assume you must enjoy training quite a bit. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I, especially the past year and a half, I've really enjoyed like digging into the grit and like the hard work of climbing rather than just the fun and play, because I feel like I got a lot of that when I was younger. And it's been nice to kind of explore the more tough side that I think a lot of people don't always talk about or share.
Has there been a big chat? We have a lot of youth competitors that watch and their parents and stuff. Is there anything that you would say is like one of those grit points to lean into for them?
I mean, I think power endurance is the best one, or like really any form of endurance, whatever kind of floats your boat. But um, like I like to throttle like long end endurance of just like slow stuff and getting like insane pump in just your forearms, or like climbing at that medium level and getting the pump kind of more in your larger muscle groups. But I think being able to explore the space where you're trying so hard and being able to perform when you are that exhausted is one, not just a physical ability, but it's also like a mental skill. So something I've really digged into is like, I used to make comp day two, like divisionals in youth, if we're talking like primarily youth competitors, or like a nationals, and I guess I've never made a semis, but like we would do like multiple days. And I would find my performance would dip so dramatically because I was so focused on performance that I was never worried about the like building that physical base to be able to support that performance of when the dice rolled my way. So yeah, really just any form of power endurance. I think you got to find what works for you, but digging
It
into
sounds
that
like that's been
hard
a big
work.
mental boost for you as well this recently. Is that like the confidence of knowing that you've put in that hard work? You know?
Yeah, there's some quote from a million fitness influencers, but something along the lines of like, yeah, like self-doubt doesn't go away from like believing in yourself, like specifically, but from having like a stack of evidence that you can look at when you are doubting yourself. And I feel like my first few years of competing, I had a lot of self-doubt and like worry, especially, in ISO you get the jitters and you get worried. And I think it came from not having the backing to be able to say, yeah, I do deserve to be here. I've put in a million hours. I've worked so hard that I know that when the climb feels wrong and it feels hard, like I've earned the muscle groups to literally be able to pull through.
Yeah.
And it's
Nice.
like, it's kind of comforting. Nobody can take that away from you.
That's
Put in
awesome.
the
Man.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. An analogy I use a lot with people is like you can't just continuously raise your ceiling. You got to bring up your floor as well. Like you can't just have too big of a room, right? So for you, it sounds like physically and mentally you've brought up that floor a lot. So like even on your worst day when you're nowhere near the ceiling, you don't have that far to fall. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. We talk about like a lot of comps have like really low percentage moves, like
Bushwick.
especially now, but we could talk about Bushwick when we get into it. But I think Tomoa is like a really great example of people used to say, how did he perform every single day, like every comp, even when moves were so low percentage, but his floor was just so close to what they needed, and his ceiling was just so high above that like the percentage just always swung in his favor.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not an English major.
We got it. Yeah, no, it's true. Like, and I've actually, I think Magnus did a video with Tomoa at his training facility. I mean, and everything he said was just disgusting, in the sense of like what he was training on was just, he would even say like the stuff that he trained on would take him five or six tries before he even got the first move. And this is, that's, his training mentality, super hard. And then so when it comes to the really, really hard stuff in comps, it's like you said, it's very, very, very high floor. So, yeah. So I have a question though. Like, so you keep talking about when you're training what you like. What is it that you don't like when you're training, but you still do it?
It's actually lately it's kind of changed. I forget which BetaBreak video, but Tyler mentioned that it's like a transitional, that it changes all the time. But for me, it's really been like kind of this comp, like super low percentage, like just dyno, like big muscle groups. Gotten really, really good at crimping in the last year in comparison to like past TJ.
Hey man, you
So
can
I've
you
really
can be honest. Your
enjoyed.
fingers are strong. You can
Yeah,
be honest.
I've
Your fingers are
enjoyed.
objectively strong. That's
Thank you. I've enjoyed like seeing that, but I haven't really enjoyed um like jumping between big holds and falling all the time. Um, it just it's hard mentally to keep falling and not feel like you're making progress, because you can make progress and have your wrist in a better orientation or twist your hip 20 degrees better, and you'll see that in a like more static movement. But when everything's moving so fast, you can't really see the progress. So yeah, but I find to fix it, I'll do a climb with crimps or something a little more like basic on the mind, reward myself, and then throw a bunch of burns at a boulder, get really sad, and then go crimp again.
Yeah, you were one of the only people this kind of just creeping into Bushwick, which I'm sure we're going to get to in a little bit. The only person to not just grind the in qualifiers, the yellow low
Lachey
percentage
to the
swing
to
to
the
the
clear
Lachey
holds.
to the clear holds. You
Yeah.
you would come and then you would disappear, and then you came back, and then you disappear, and then you came back. Versus everyone else is like, all right, I'm going to give this 400 tries in a row until I get it. You were one of the few people that maybe gave it, I think, 2 or 3 tries, and then you were like gone, and then you came back and and you eventually got it. So
Yeah, actually, I gave it one burn.
right, yeah,
I got zone,
Uh-huh.
and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to wait in this line.
yeah.
I walked away.
And it was actually the lines
Yeah.
were moving pretty fast, but yeah, it was.
I'm gonna beg
Yeah.
to differ on that one. I didn't get to try that one or the other yellow that was across from the 45 wall that they had, like the other coordination move. I know what I'm there for. I don't want to take those attempts away from people who are fighting for final spots. So I usually don't push myself to the front of the line like I would in an advanced round when I'm going for the podium. But yeah, I think let's get into Bushwick. I
Yeah, let's do it.
love that gym, and they have a great crew, and they're one of the older facilities, and they have a lot of choke points, and I think they did really well organizing despite some of the limitations of how tight that space is. There was in that one little alley where there is like the black. For us, there's like the black crimp boulder. The girls had like a blue run across. Then we had that pink slab, and then behind that slab wall was a giant paddle dyno that the girls had. That was
The yellow
a
one.
nasty fall directly into where everybody was. There's only so much real estate before people are landed on top of each other there. That was my being back and being a part of the round is always a different experience from.
Yeah, but that was just open in Young Guns, and I think the experience of the climbers led to, even though it was very cramped, people not falling on top of each other because they, kind of respected and knew what to expect when it came to just fall zones and lines. Because like even the Lachey move was also underneath the blue crimp, and then there was a Young Guns black, and everyone was very good about just moving and not being frustrated, and I felt like I kept seeing people, because I was kind of manning the corner, and that was kind of a little scary. On the Lachey, the yellow Lachey, was manning the corner, because that was if people were flying and just kind of not hitting it right, it was a couple times where people potentially could have gotten hurt. Let's just say affected a couple of heads. And then so like that just kind of pasted me. I just decided I'm going to post up here and just be the safeguard here, the crash pad. for people that were giving that a try. But I can see the traffic moving there, and for such a cramped space, and everything was moving pretty well, especially at the end when people were trying to get. They moved on from the yellow lachet to the blue crimping one.
That press and the crimps.
The press one to the And there was lots of courtesy. It was moving pretty well. So very cramped. I mean, the crazy part is like you literally went from the qualifiers for open and young guns, and it was packed. Like you literally couldn't walk the aisles, to the next 2 rounds for citizens, and it was like they shut the place down almost. It was so bare. I was very confused, which is usually the opposite for a DarkHorse. You usually have really good spread, and because the gyms are bigger, but just typically it just wasn't as many registrations for the second 2 rounds, the round 2 and round 3 for citizens, which I thought was kind of odd, but maybe just like a Bushwick thing. I don't know. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I stuck around, and I was really surprised to not see much in the other 2 rounds.
It was very surprising.
Yeah, I don't know.
So let's get into your experience at the comp now that we've sprayed our opinions. Let's start with the qualifier round. 8 boulders. How did you feel about level of difficulty? And then I'm always curious how you feel about the versatility of skills that they were actually challenging. So yeah, how was the level of difficulty for you?
I actually thought it was perfect. I've done qualifier rounds that were way too easy, way too hard, and I felt like I was challenged on every boulder. I don't really think there was a gimme.
No gimmies. No gimmies.
And I think having boulders that weren't necessarily topped, because there were like just 0 top boulders, I think is totally fine in a qualifier round, because part of a comp is being able to know yourself enough to know when a boulder is not worth your time. For example, the no-tex, I know that's not necessarily my skill set, and if the stack is 20 people deep, that's just a waste of time. So I thought the setters did an amazing job at leveling the threshold. I was talking to Robbie about this after the fact, but I think some of the zones might have been not as utilized as I wanted to see if I was getting like super nitpicky. But overall I had an amazing time in that qualifier round, not just because like I made finals. I actually didn't even know like right away, but I felt like all the boulders were super inquisitive. Like I had to really be thinking. I like the word inquisitive. But also still pretty physical. Like that black thing, those crimps in the back.
Yeah,
they're pretty small. I mean, I was happy to see them. So they're definitely like small enough that they weren't great. I felt tired before finals, which is normally a good sign of the boulders were hard enough. But I only had 3 tops.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and 3 tops is all you needed to make finals. And you actually had 3 tops with 10 attempts. So you were going with, versus 29, 24, 23, 21. And Quentin was also on the conservative side with under 20 with 16. So there was a lot of low percentage stuff that people were just cycling through on for a lot of those. And even Austin, which is because I think he probably got most of those attempts on that Lachey one, but he flashed, I think, 4 out of his 6 tops, and then just spent a lot of time on the slab and the yellow Lachey.
Trying to spend a good amount of time on that knee bar. Shout out, the knee pad made an appearance.
Okay, all right, yeah, and also I guess the black one, the swing 1-2. On the overhang. I know he made a couple attempts on that one as well. But when you're looking at boulders that weren't topped, and the having 3 people make it into finals with only 3 tops, that says a lot about how difficult the setting was. Yeah. Yeah, those tops were not gimmies. A lot of zones, the tops were not a gimme, and it was just, I thought, was really interesting. And it's a trend I've been seeing, like just coming off of CEC, the Canadian Nationals, and really seeing how their qualifiers. I think people were once again making finals with only 3 tops, and some not even getting all the zones, and that's the trend, right? So because everyone's getting so strong now, you don't want to just give them away. So they're making everything a lot stiffer all around. I'm just, the last 4 comps I've been to, it's been definitely the bar has been raised right across the board, which is kind of cool to see. It's like that critical mass has been reached, across the entire, which is great, right? So now everyone is stepping their game up, and they all know it. So I'm not a big fan of low percentage, as many low percentage moves in a qualifier round or even in a comp in general. But it might have to be the new way everyone's heading. I don't know.
I think the benefit of having such a difficult round in a low top round is if you can accept the fact that maybe low percentage isn't something you're up to par with or up to snuff with, like you just got to crank, pull really hard. Like I'm not too sure on this, but I do believe everybody else that made finals did the yellow, like the Coordination Dino.
Yep.
Or the Lachey thing.
Yeah.
But I knew that was something that was too risky with the time, so I knew I just had to pull. So like when push came to shove on black, full crimp, I just pulled really hard, and then I did the slab, and I think I fell in it a few times, and there was just a moment where I was like, I'm either going to be sitting in the stack for 2 hours, or I'm going to lower my left heel and just really hope that my foot doesn't slip. So when you keep the round low, it kind of gives the competitors the opportunity, if they're aware enough, to be able to kind of have the comp they want almost in qualies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really unique and cool.
That's a great point.
For sure. And so you felt that it was, like to follow up with Tyler's question, like the setting in general really tested, kind of equally around all
a variety of skills. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there was a single skill that was necessarily, one, nothing was ignored. I think we covered everything through the 8. And then I think having multiple paths to finals allowed competitors to not only have to know how to do multiple spreads, but understand where they are within each spread. And I like competing because you can't just do pull-ups, because nobody wants to watch someone do more pull-ups than the other guy. Like, that's boring. But being able to like really be aware of who you are, what the boulders are, and who everyone else is, like that's where the competing is.
Yeah. Yeah, so, that was a good round. It was interesting because, everyone knows that I pretty much know all the competitors and have conversations. And I can't tell you how, this is the first time I think over half the field from qualifiers, men and female, asked me, like, how's everyone else doing? Like, because they were in such, like, I don't know where I am in the stack. Like, what do you think's making finals? What do you think making finals? Like, what's the cutoff? And I was like, I don't know. Like, it was hard to really tell because, so spread out what people were topping, what people weren't topping. The only person that was like, consistently going through things was Austin. And I missed Dominic's, I've seen him on a couple of things, but I didn't really see his tops as he was kind of going through. But for the most part, it was a mystery who was really going into finals, which was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of keep it mysterious. Like if people aren't sure if they're going to finals, they're more likely to try hard and try all the boulders and really have to fight for it. I think that's a good sign of quality setting.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I agree. I don't know if I talked to Tyler about this. I think we did at the end. But I said something to the moment of there's 15 minutes left, and I could Lachey on the no text like 5 more times when nobody else is on it, because everyone had kind of worked through it at that point. I was like, I could burn a lot of energy here and probably secure a higher spot in finals or a spot in finals, because I knew my attempts were low because I hadn't done the Lachey yet. So I knew if attempts mattered, which they did, I was going to probably come out on top. So like that awareness, even if I didn't necessarily know the score, I said it, like, if I spend these 15 more minutes, I'm probably toasted tonight, which we're probably going to get into this in the next 5 minutes, but I kind of was toasted anyways. But I think that there is a level of gambling almost, or like risking it in when you don't know, trying to understand. Maybe it's worth risking not getting everything that you could in a qualifier round. And I think that's a really unique part of competing that we haven't seen as much, because I've done rounds where you have to do all of the top 8,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
like in the Gravity Ball Fight Club, it was not a modified red point, like it was just normal red point, and you knew you just had to do the top whatever, and you could skip one or something. I don't remember the exact numbers, and like there was no variability. You just came in, you did these
Train 'em.
boulders.
Right.
If you could do them, good. If you couldn't, get out.
Right. Okay.
But this allowed you to really delve into what do you want to do. So yeah.
I want to get more into kind of your opinions on comp formats and stuff, but I think we should go through the final stuff first while we're still on the Metro Rock specific. So first off, speaking of format, 3 boulders in finals, right?
DarkHorse.
What are most people that we ask about this have a similar answer, but what is your ideal number of boulders in a final?
It's 4. It's been 4 for forever for a reason. I've done 4. I think I've done 6. I don't know if in a finals, but like I've done like 6 in rounds before.
Yeah.
I know USA Climbing for nationals for boulders, they have 2 separate 3 boulder rounds. So you'll do like Group A and then Group B, and they're each 3, which is super interesting. I'm on board with that, because doing 6 in a row is nasty. But yeah.
I
keep
think,
going. Yeah.
I was gonna say, we used to do a lot of like funky comp formats when I was really young. Like at High Exposure, Charlie did an excellent job with these like Friday night comps for a bunch of youth kids, and they were I don't think underground is the word, but they weren't really like competitions. They were just like mock training, and people would just come in on Friday, like from all like the local teams, and we would do training, and I think we would definitely get into like higher numbers of rounds, just because everyone was so psyched that there'd be so many boulders. So I've seen a million different like numbers, and 4 is just always the best. It just by a lot. It just feels great. Competitors want it. I don't think anyone wants to watch more than 4, like really, really technically. Like if you're just like there, like in the vibe, you could sit there for 5, 6, but if you want to like really break down the climbing, 4 climbers or 4 climbs, 6 climbers, that's 24 times where you're like actually watching someone climb, especially if it's 2 genders. Now you're talking about 48 times. Like, who's gonna be able to actually focus on more than that? Like,
Right.
Not me.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, for me, I as much as 3 is not a lot. I mean, I agree with the 4. For 3, it makes my day a lot easier because it's one less
Yeah.
short. I got to stand up and be hanging out, and I think really the because they have Young Guns and the same Young Guns finals, which I think is awesome that they still make an effort to push Young Guns on the same day when everyone's there. You're coming in for finals, and then transition right into the open finals. That's really the time suck right there. The Young Guns takes up what would essentially be the time allocated to that 4th climb. That's, in my mind, is what I'm assuming is why they do it. I still don't like that it's only 3. I wish it was 4. But I mean, I can see, them supporting and really keeping the Young Guns alive, and just really keeping that and giving them the limelight, because now, unlike any other event, because I know, all of the movement gyms, you do have a Young Guns equivalent. What's that called?
We have the youth comp on the Friday night before.
It's a Friday night before, and it doesn't get streamed. It might get streamed this year, and we'll see how that goes. But as opposed to having its own thing, it can now piggyback, and now these kids get some notoriety. And actually, I can see like Mitchell Boyer he actually just aged out of Young Guns, but to see I remember this kid from, crushing it, and then now like creeping into the open, it's you can see that full journey, which I think
he's out of the advanced round now. That's,
right. Yeah.
people call me a sandbagger.
He's got enough crash pads. He's good.
Yeah. Get that kid in open.
I was gonna say that you're talking about Young Guns. I think Young Guns is super, super fruitful. So if we have a few comps where we have to sit in 3 boulders, maybe that's okay. I actually never competed in a Young Guns, which is crazy because I've been competing so long, but I was always like USA climbing focused, and I did a lot of other things in high school and middle school. It kind of took me a while to really narrow down how much I loved climbing, which I don't know if we want to talk about, but I think those youth comps are a really great way to learn how to compete in a finals because when I made my first finals at Feats, I had a moment of what am I doing here? I was like, it wasn't just a like imposter syndrome thing, like not like an emotional like why am I here, but it was like a
How does this
how do I
work?
warm up or
Right.
what boulders are we doing? Like I've been watching World Cups for so long, but what's really behind the curtain? So having a Young Guns opportunity, I think, is really cool to one, not only learn that, but then also decide if it's something you want to commit your weekends to,
Hmm. Yeah.
because it
I
is
think,
a substantial amount of time.
and I think the young ones is actually a higher pressure because they come in, it's sight unseen, right? So there's no preview. There's nothing like sit down, turn around, and now climb that. And then that, I think that's a steep learning curve for your first experience. And to see these kids just crush it is kind of crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, I
We're a
agree.
little less than a month out from youth USAC regionals here, and for a lot of kids, it's going to be their first experience with sit in this chair for 4 minutes, go sit in that chair for 4 minutes, then turn around and figure out this boulder. And it's the little things that you pick up with experience, like, hey, bring a jacket with you. The floor is going to be cold,
Yeah.
those little
Yeah.
things. And then that's one element where you have ISO where you're with your coach, for most of these kids, and then to go into an open finals where you're in ISO with the other climbers and everybody's hanging out. How do you balance getting your warm up and staying focused but having fun? And yeah, there's a lot of things that really only come with experience or by having somebody there to show you the ropes. So it's interesting to hear somebody who has been climbing for so long, like being thrown into a new situation and having to adapt to it. On the topic of ISO, something I like to ask is, how was ISO at this comp? What did they do well, and what do you wish every ISO had?
Okay. This ISO was fine. One, I knew a lot of the people, so it was like that was a really good time. Like it was good to talk to everyone. But in terms of like physical stuff, we were kind of just like given reign of the boulders, which was kind of weird. Um,
So the
like
ISO was in the back corner and it was just tarped up, right? So it went,
it wasn't even tarped up. It was
okay.
just like there were some ropes, and they were kind of like you can venture past the ropes, just don't look at the climbs. And we all agreed like we're not gonna like look at climbs or anything, and we were gonna use whatever we could to warm up, which I thought was cool to like trust the maturity of the finalists. But that being said, there was no hangboard really available. There was one right to the right of the
Young guns.
Young Guns, but it
Yeah.
was kind of blocked by a ladder, so I didn't really move it or use it until the ladder had moved, which was quite a long while. It was like right before. And I do most of my warm up off the wall, so that was kind of difficult for me. But that comes with like being a flexible climber and being able to warm up in any scenario. So that was this ISO. Like it was okay. It was manageable. Um, well, I know the third one was like what should every ISO have? What was the second
Yeah,
one?
yeah. If you had like your dream wish, yeah, you covered, but if you had your dream
Okay.
wish list of what you would want in an ISO, what would you want to see? And this is for the gyms out there listening who are setting up for their comp this year. What should you support the athletes with?
Yeah. I let you preface, I can say this, but I think every competitor should be able to warm up in any ISO. Like that's just kind of part of your comp duty is like that's on you for a warm up. You should not be relying on anyone. Um, but if I like had my dream, it'd be 1 or 2 hangboards, probably 2, just so we're not like 12 people rotating on a
Very
hangboard.
true. Yeah.
Like I'll always bring like a flashboard or a T block because I know it's gonna happen. But something like that, and then some sort of systems wall, um, ideally with an adjustable angle. But I love open circuiting before I climb it. Like it almost feels like yoga when you're really really relaxed on the wall and it like really stretches you out. And then mentally it's like a great clarity moment. And then honestly, I don't need a single boulder personally. Like a commercial boulder to warm up, but I would like some sort of flat wall or slab just so I can like feel my feet on the wall because sometimes my shoes need like a moment to like work around my feet really well, and I can only really do that if I'm standing on a volume or a slab. So yeah, you got flat wall, systems, hangboard.
Hangboard,
That's
that's
it.
I think so far every single
Yeah,
person
almost
that we've
everybody has
asked
said that. Yeah.
this hangboard is a necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So gyms out there listening, if you don't have the ability to put a hangboard in your ISO, like if you don't have it fixed to the wall, get some of the portable ones, throw them in there, like attach them to something so that competitors have something to get their fingers warm. And I agree, it is on the athlete to make the most out of what they're given, but it's also on the gym to make sure that at a certain point it is a safety thing. Make sure that athletes can warm their fingers up because we don't want to have people going in with cold fingers and getting injured.
Yeah, and you
well,
can also take advantage of the system wall. Like you can talk to Austin about what projects he's working on, get him to time himself out.
Yeah, the Bryce Viola strategy. Get people to, I bet you can't one arm on that. Get them to tire themselves out.
oh, I was gonna also say bathroom. Metrock they did a great job at this comp with that. I think it was like right by ISO, so that was nice. But I've been in a few ISOs where it's like such an arduous process, and you just don't want to be worrying about that. Like it's just
Yeah, I mean that's
At
a tricky thing with a lot of the gyms because, like, they design the gym with climbing in mind, right? And but they're not thinking of what if we throw a comp, right? And so then that becomes because I know ISO for feats at Valhalla is on the second
or
floor, right?
upstairs. Yeah,
And it's upstairs, and you literally have to, if you want to go to the bathroom, you have to come down, and they do like
downstairs.
a card in your face, so you can't see what you're doing, and like going down, because the gym was designed not even
Yeah.
coming into mind. It was just like we found the space, let's
Yeah.
open a climbing gym, and then the sport evolved and things happened. So, but of course, they all kind of figure it out, but sometimes the space is just not set up right for.
And quick tidbit about Metro Rock Bushwick specifically is when they hosted Boulder Regionals 2 years ago, something like that. The ISO was that top rope pit, and there was no access to a bathroom. So in order for the 100+ kids that are in ISO to go to the bathroom, including like the youth C kids or youth D kids who are like dealing with being in ISO and their tiny children, they had to go outside around up an elevator to a single stall bathroom. So one of my kids had to go to the bathroom. It took them 40 minutes. They lost their entire warm up time. So shout out for Bushwick for learning from that. That's yeah. Yeah, cool. So finals boulders, we had 3. Could you just give us a quick rundown on, let's just go one at a time. How was Boulder 1 for you? Can you describe the style, if you were happy to see that style, all that, give us the full TJ experience.
yeah. I'll kind of talk through preview, I guess is the best way. So 1 was on the left. It's like black. It was black climb and jumped up, caught a hold, swung down, caught another hold, and then a 1, 2, 3 to the finish. So
Sounds very static.
yeah. A lot of pulling and grabbing. No, it was just jumping, on basically vert. So I saw that, I was like, all right, that's the one I gotta pull through for. Let's just hope it goes around. And then we moved over to the green climb, which was again flat wall. Which again we were in the top rope pit, so it kind of makes sense. A lot of flat wall, but yeah, we're on flat wall. So you start on jug, on volume. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with the lighting. Jump up a little bit. You caught a crimp, stabbed onto a volume. Then you worked your feet around on like we used to call them the witch's noses, but they're really small feet from flat hold, a little bouncy, and then jump again to the finish. And then I was like, all right, sick. I think I might be able to pull through this like one low percentage move and then some slab stuff, which I normally am pretty good at. And then I looked for our third climb, and we had 3 holds, which was pretty sick. So he started, and you jump to a jug, and then you lacheyed to a jug, and then you slayed to a jug again, and that was it. Which was sick. I mean, I went back and watched the tapes after I didn't do the climb, and I was like, oh, okay, like that looks cool. When you do it, it's sick. But I admittedly was a little discouraged seeing three lachey climbs or three
That was it.
very low percentage climbs. But I mean, that's how it goes.
So something we talk about a lot is trends in climbing. If you remember, like 10 years ago, the trend was like reach out and catch a toe hook. That was like the craziest coordination move that had ever happened in climbing, and like whatever climber was super ahead of the field because they figured out how to lean into a toe hook. That is like youth D qualifiers movement at this point. And then there was the turnaround where everybody was making people face away from the wall and then rotate back in. I think that trend, you can tell when a trend is kind of dying out when it shows up on a sport route. So we had the turnaround on a sport route recently. Right now the lachey is so hot. Every qualifier, every final, everything has a lachey. I'm curious what if you can think about kind of those common trends like the lachey, the paddle dyno, toe hook catches. If you've had a favorite that you wish would come back, or if there's something that you'd like to see come into style.
Love like having okay. I'm much better at having just upper body or just lower body coordination. Doing upper and lower is very difficult for me, which is why lacheys are so hard for me. Is like being able to coordinate, okay, I'm going to swing, feet are going to touch, and then hands are going to touch. So I'd like to see something more to the effect of like, I loved when we had like insane long paddles. Like, I think it was Innsbruck, where they did like the 6-move pull. Like those things are so fun when you get them right, and they're so cool. So I'd love to see that back again. And then in terms of lacheys, like I think let's see it on a sport route like tomorrow, and then we're good to go.
And then we're done.
Which we have.
Just be done
I'm pretty sure they were.
It was in CEC.
Yeah.
So CEC,
Yeah, I was gonna
I know
say.
there was
They
a
had
shape for the men's, which was kind of crazy.
Personally, I'm hoping
terrifying.
that we're on the end of it.
Yeah, I'm ready to move on from the lachey. I think it's cool, and from an event organizer perspective, the flashy moves are good for the crowd, right? This is the eternal struggle, and Jakob Schubert had his whole video about the breakdown of different styles and comps. And if anybody hasn't seen that video, you should go watch it. Who is more qualified to speak on trends in competition than Jakob Schubert, who has been competing for 150 years, has 2 Olympic bronzes. Let's listen to the guy. But from an event organizer perspective, lachey, awesome to watch. The crowd gets really excited. It's very definitive if the climber was like close or not. And compare that to some really techie, like nasty drop knee on nothing crimps on a 45, like a very board style boulder. If you're the crowd watching, that climber isn't gonna have enough energy maybe to give that thing like 9 attempts in a row like they might with a lachey, and it's way less obvious if how close they are to sticking something, so for a crowd that is just watching, I understand lachey is so hot right now, but personally I would love to see something like pinches or compression back in a boulder.
I think what needs to happen, and that third problem was literally, I was like, given enough attempts, I could probably make that, and that should not be the case on any open finals boulder. I'm sorry, like I love climbing. I know where I have yet to be able to confidently make any top on any finals boulder that I've ever tried. Like I looked at that one, I was like, I probably can give that 5 tries and get it. Mainly because I'm good at coordinated moves. I'm good at lacheys. I actually enjoy those, and I have a huge wingspan. But it was just like, it was, yeah. I was pleasantly surprised at my confidence in being able to actually make a finals boulder. But they need to. I think the lachey can stay if, and I think it's become part of climbing, but like, let's throw a couple of crimps in there somewhere, right? There was maybe one on the green slab was a crimp, right?
That was the only one.
That was the only one, right? In the whole men's.
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically there was a screw on the black, but you still caught it open hand. Yeah, I just to give reference, I only scored points on the green climb, but which is the only one with a crimp, notably. But if you watch in the video, I like do the swing on the first burn and I like feel the crimp and I'm like, oh, like I can actually pull on the hold. And then like the next time I try it, I just like I just hit it and just like lock into it because I done 30 minutes of warming up and then we did we did preview and I was like, oh well, that was a waste of time. Talk about not eating a hangboard.
Yeah.
Which I'm bagging on the climbs a lot. I just like to say like not at all to the effect of like the setters. Like I think their decision was like something like one, following trends, and two, like, you gotta go risky. Just it really did not play to my strong suit. So obviously like I was not too thrilled with them, but I understand that that's like a weakness of that like kind of something more I have to train, less so something that has to change in climbing, I guess it makes sense.
We need to adapt to TJ.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We don't need new climbing. What?
I'm on board. Let's just make setters adapt to a TJW. That's what we're going for.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get a podium. Let's get those comp fees back.
Yeah, shout out to Valhalla because I think we're one of the only gyms where strength matters a lot on the boulders. Like I'm thinking back to at finals, like our orange finals boulder that was coming out of the arch. That was like, how hard can you pull on a sloper? That thing was nasty.
Yeah.
I
was like shaking on that boulder. Not from nerves. Like my muscles couldn't do it anymore.
It was so hard. And especially after a qualifying round where we do test people's physical strength. There is hard pulling.
Was it orange? In the
qualifier, on our steep wall on our 45. That's actually 37. With like those blocked crimps, like just going straight up. I think it was gross.
I could have closed my eyes. Could have told you I was like on a moonboard or something, like at the top. But
which is super fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was boulder 1, 2, and 3. I think we covered it, right?
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk about it more, but.
I think we've got a good coverage of it there. It was a fun finals to watch, and I feel like maybe I end up ragging on the coordination stuff too much because I love the power style so much more, and it's so much more in my wheelhouse, and I find it more entertaining because of that. But it was a fun finals to watch. One of my favorite moments was, I want to say it was women's 2 or 3. They all started like in a closet. Like there was like a closet door with a black curtain. They were all starting in a closet and jumping out of it. And I just thought that was so funny.
A couple of the competitors, because they had a curtain kind of blocking it, and they would go because it was another coordinated move. They would like wind up and then look back like, why am I kicking a curtain right now? And then they just go up. So it was kind of funny. I think Nora and Sabrina Levine definitely were like, what is happening with my foot? Like, what's it caught in right now? But yeah, there was very dynamic as well. We'll get a little bit more info on that when we talk with Lucy.
Yeah. So TJ, just to kind of round it out, what stuff do you have coming up? What are you training for? What's on the docket for you?
Yeah, super long term. Want to compete at an Open Nationals. The goal was to do it this year. Basically, like long term training was train all year last year, get finals experience at like feats of strength and stuff, which I did. Go into super training in the summer, which I did, and then do a few NACs, qualify for Open Nats, and then see what Open Nats was like this year. I unfortunately had a really, really poor timed ankle sprain 2 weeks before Open Nats, so I canceled my flights and recovered, which I'm great now, so it's sick. But awesome. I want to go to an Open Nats. It's just an experience. I feel like I want to see what it is before I can truly write off comp climbing, because I feel like that's the last like form of competition I haven't really seen yet. So in terms of like super long term, open nats. But then if we're talking like more short term, I love these weekend comps. I think they're a great time to gain experience. They're a great time to like catch up with your friends. Like again, I grew up with Austin and Adam in terms of like climbing wise. We were all so young and have been through so much. So it's cool to come back and see everyone still like doing all right, especially when you're like all the way in Boston. So yeah, weekend comps, make sure, yeah. Hopefully you'll see me in finals more, maybe pulling on crimps or some pinches. Um, and then, yeah, I guess that's about it. Not too many outdoor dreams right now, but when the site comes, I'll be sure to let it happen. But for now, we're going to ride the comps.
Okay. And so,
Cool, man.
wait, you're rocking Goats t-shirt. Are you going to do the showdown, 77 showdown?
So I'm actually forerunning for them. The 4th, which is the day the comp is the day I move back into Boston because we start school on the 6th. Yeah, really early. Has to do with Northeastern's co-op program, and like internships just like move the schedule, which is totally okay. And then the other thing is I love forwarding because I think it's actually better insight to learning. Any competitors who are like wondering easier ways to like gain more like mental gains or like learn more about climbing, but not necessarily like physical, start forerunning anywhere. You get to talk to the people who are literally making the climbs. You get to see like what the process is. So when you turn around and try and read a boulder or like a route, you've seen them make what you're trying to read, and it is so insightful and truthfully like probably the most I've learned. So I love coming home and forerunning when I can. So yeah, showdown is a good time for me to learn, but not necessarily compete.
I mean, especially you're talking about like, I mean, you're forerunning under Chris Moyle, which is like, I mean, what a better person to really understand and learn from, the experience and his willingness to just really share knowledge and grow setters. He's produced quite a few spectacular setters
Yeah.
in his time. So yeah, like you're learning from one of the best in the region. So shout out to that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been training together for years, so it's always fun to come back and joke around. He'll be like we'll be on slab and be like, you know how to do that move, like come on now.
Come on.
Like he knows me
Yeah.
better than I do it sometimes, so it's always a good
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's important to have that person there that believes in you enough to tell you to stop being dumb, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes gotta be you though, like in an open
Yeah.
finals.
Yeah, gotta tell yourself to stop being dumb, you know?
Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah, any sponsors or people that are supporting you that you want to shout out? I know you've got some discount codes for us.
Yes, I do. One, not a discount code, but climbing rehab Miguel. He has been so influential for me this season. As I increased my training load, my injury load also came up because you're climbing more, you're gonna do more things wrong. Um, he's been so amazing at getting me through the season and keeping me healthy. So if you have any issues, you're like, maybe this kind of hurts, please go get a free consultation, go check him out, or any consultation. I promise steer you in the right direction. Um, and then, yeah, we talked about Goat, obviously Goat, like they've been so supportive and a great team. And then, okay, so I got two codes. One code TJ Marks, for IQ Bar, which I have one right here because I normally eat them for breakfast, but, um, they're a Boston-based company. They make, like nutrition bars like those, electrolyte mixes, and then instant coffee. I personally I have an espresso. I love that machine, so I don't use their instant coffee, but their bars are super amazing. I like them a little more than just like protein, but they have like mushroom supplements, so like clears your mind. So I find they're really good for like um, not only like physically feeling good, but like mentally feeling good. So yeah, code TJ Marks at checkout, and then code High Marks for Highcliff, which is like a clothing brand. They make underwear for climbing, which as we get into the more like low percentage moves, really important to like feel good and be okay in those weird positions. So yeah, go check them out. I can send you guys the links if you want to put them in the like
No, for sure.
YouTube,
Definitely
Yeah,
send those
perfect.
over.
They'll be in the
And it's
bio.
funny, like I mean, I've had IQ bars. I actually have them in my car, and I didn't even know they were Boston based, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I support that. I support that. The IQ bars and nice. They're good stuff, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
And for anybody wondering how to support your favorite climbers, look at what they're offering you in terms of discount codes and values, and like support the companies that support them. And that's how we keep awesome climbers like TJ showing up to these comps and able to keep training, and that's how we get a good show in finals.
Yeah, and I mean, and also big shout out to Miguel. Like he's been on the grind. He's a climber as well. Like so, when you start talking
Yes.
about just PT and rehab, Miguel has been there. He was actually at Metro at the Bushwick comp. He's been at most of the comps. He even ventured up into Boston for the Littleton comp. Set up a table, a booth, and yeah, he's doing really great things in the Northeast area. So huge shout out to him. Definitely support him. Really great at what he does. A lot of climbers can back him up, me included. So, yeah, really awesome.
I have one more, no code, but I got to mention Beta Labs again. I don't think I'm technically an athlete, but we all got it. We all use it.
In the
I got a
background,
new,
Beta Labs.
yeah,
Yes,
got a
and
fancy new pink bag.
oh, you got
Yep,
ooh,
there
I
you
just
go.
got my purple.
Yep.
Yeah.
nice.
Let's go.
Beta Labs.
And actually,
Yeah.
so Beta Labs is a huge supporter of the channel. And speaking of no codes, we actually just got a holiday offer for Beta Labs. So if you want 15% off Beta Labs gear, use code Betabreakerz. That's what it's at the end to get 15% off your offer. So I'll drop that, of course, in the description.
Yes, definitely do that. Their stuff's great. There's a reason everybody in the Northeast uses it. I think it was like almost the entire finals round.
Yeah,
This time. Just
yes, just rocking
Yeah.
it.
Find
They're
me a
rocking
podium. Find me a podium without a Betabreakerz bucket.
Beta Labs.
I'll be. Yep, that's what I meant. A
Yeah, yeah.
Betabreakerz T-shirt and a Beta Labs bucket.
There you
That's turns out automatic podium if you have both. So gotta
Yeah,
collect
there
them
you
all.
go.
Yep,
That's pretty much
confirmed.
it.
Confirmed. Cool, man. Well, TJ, thanks so much for chatting with us, man. It's been awesome. We would love to have you back anytime. We
Yeah,
look
let me
forward to seeing you at more comps. If you ever do want to climb outside, let me know. Be happy to give you the ice pond tour. I don't know if you've ever been.
Not yet, but I do.
Yeah.
I do need to get out there. Yeah, I know.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
You'll have a great time. There's a lot of crimps. But yeah, thanks so much for coming. Everybody check out TJ on Instagram. Is it what's your Insta for everybody? It'll be in the description, but
TJ.Marks72, I believe. Yeah.
awesome.
But yeah, thank you guys for having me. It was super good. Good time.
Thanks for joining us. It's really great to chat. And so what else do we have on the calendar? So speaking of comps, just kind of closing things out, 77 Showdown is next on the calendar. So that's January 4th. I love the GOAT's willingness to piss off the climbing community with some, new and innovative formats when it approaches. So definitely check that out. Like I say, great setting if you want to compete. You definitely, just all around great setting from qualifiers to citizens to open. So definitely check them out. We will be live streaming that as well. New for Betabreakerz, we will actually be live streaming Region 91. Their regionals.
Youth regionals, January 11th.
On January 11th. That will be in Warwick, Rhode Island. So that's next on the docket. And then more to come. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. I'm playing catch up on gym tours. So we have like 9 gym tours that I've done that I have not posted. So those are going to go up, as well as a couple other things that have been sitting in the queue, making some time moving forward. So yeah, channel's growing. Thank you all for your support. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to really support the channel, help the channel. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Tyler, you got anything?
Yeah, if you're looking to train for comps, I know a coach. Check out Tyler G Coaching on Instagram. Hit me up. And New Year's goals, etc. Taking on a few new clients at the moment, so hit me up.
There we go. All right. So thank you all for your time. Thank you, TJ, Tyler, of course. And our audience, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.
Thank you.